Hi guys, welcome to the EP7 podcast channel. I'm your co-host Rachel Donovan and I'm with the founder of EP7, Mr. George Halou.
Well, thank you. What an introduction. Good to be here. I love talking about Empowered for Purpose.
I know you do, George. We love hearing from you.
And you're such a great co-host. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Hello, welcome to the EP7 podcast. You're back here with the very lovely George Halou and Rachel Donovan.
Thank you, Rachel. Happy Valentine.
Happy Valentine's. Now, you may be listening to this a little bit after Valentine's Day, but George and I are recording this on the 14th of Feb, and we thought we would, off the back of it being this supposed most romantic day of the year, discuss the idea about love and look at what is love. As George was saying to me before, you can love a certain food, ice cream, or a sport, or doing an activity, but in terms of really in a relationship, what is that all about?
Yeah. I mean, off air, do you know how I was joking when you said, what is love? And I quickly went into that song, Don't Hurt Me, No More, right? Now, think of the most popular use of the phrase, what is love? And it's a song that is followed by Don't Hurt Me, Don't Hurt Me. I think that says a lot with our challenges with love, doesn't it? Everybody wants it.
Had a way with it.
What does love mean to you, Rach, from the bottom of your heart?
It's a very deep emotion. It's very something that's really strong, almost to like it overwhelming or possessing you when you really love them. You feel almost, protective over someone or deeply connected and part of them in a sense.
Wow. That was pretty cool to hear that. I love how you describe love. How you use the words almost like, they're definitely deeply connected, but then you said it's like an obsession. You said you definitely feel a part of that person. In other words, the connection is so real, so strong, so consistent. There's a oneness that happens, a real true sense of belonging that no longer is forced, complicated in any way or conditional. It's just there.
Absolutely.
Sounds like home. Love sounds like a journey home into the type of relationship that we feel we could live forever in. And I guess self-love, then it's the same rules, isn't it? So like what you just described, can you imagine if you had that relationship with yourself?
Gosh, that would change things.
I think
Isn't that funny? We love others so much and with ourselves not.
Do you know, Rach, that's interesting because if I asked you, could you describe what self-love is, you probably wouldn't have done as good a job as when you were focused on love outside of you, maybe?
No, it wouldn't have been so rosy.
It wouldn't have been so 12 roses on Valentine's Day-ish. It would have been a bit thorny. In other words, as you go to connect with self-love, suddenly the obstacles of how you feel that make it awkward start to take over. But, you use those golden words, those terms, connection, and the obsession means it's just easy to be fixated on everything that honors that connection. And because it's easy, you find yourself living there. You're just there as one. Going back to what do you think love is?
Yeah.
I think it's probably, if you were to look at the intimate relationship, it is the ultimate connection. Why do I say that? Well, obviously I've given it a bit of thinking over time and I've really wanted to appreciate why is it deeper? Why is it more pure and intense? Right? And I think that family and a mother, a child, father-child, that connection is incredible, right? And if you think about it, it's because genetics plays a role to say we are biologically one at such a deep fundamental level, and I am so responsible for your well-being. I completely honor that connection to be there for you, for the food that you need, for the quality air that you need to breathe, for the clothes you need to be, warmed with, and the shelter above your head, for the education to help you live this life beautifully. So you can imagine what I'm describing right now is a profound connection on many layers. True?
It is, absolutely.
Then you come to this intoxicating love between two people. And why are there other layers? Obviously, one of the layers is physical intimacy. True?
Yeah.
That's a literal connection, because even the physical lovemaking act interlocks you as one. Isn't that an interesting metaphor? So when you were describing what love is, it's funny how we call that love making, and the physical act in the way it's been, designed, ordained, is literally like two pieces of a puzzle coming together to make a picture of two united as one. Then the emotion is this sense of pillow talk between two people where there's this understanding that everything that is in your mind is to be shared with your loved one. Everything. Isn't that the idealism of love between two? Which means mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, it's all aligning as one between you.
It's a lovely feeling, though, that feeling of falling in love, like that excitement and your endorphins and that chemical reaction that goes on in your body. I remember talking to a friend and she'd had a heart broken, but she said to me, as much as heartbroken as she was, she still had the perspective and sort of said how amazing it was to fall in love, and she looked forward to doing it again. It was just such a wonderful thing to say. And now that I'm in sort of a similar situation, a single, and I was only thinking this morning when I was running, and I just sort of thought, I get the chance to experience that again, falling in love with someone. And I mean, that is it's amazing to stay in love. But those feelings when you're falling in love with someone, those experiences that happen as you connect with someone deeper and deeper and get to know them more. And it's almost as if the more you get to know each other and find out the intricate details about your personalities and conversations and, layers are coming off in terms of conversation-wise and finding out about personalities, that you kind of accept each other more and more. And it's almost like someone loves me for who I am, or, and you feel comfortable with that. And that's a really wonderful feeling to feel that with someone.
Yes. Do you remember we covered a few podcasts ago the 4 layers of attraction?
Yes.
And so first we're falling in love with the fantasy of what we deeply yearn for. And then we're able to go far into a relationship with that fantasy before the illusion starts to break down, because that person's insecurities that are constantly creating disconnection with you, and your insecurities starting to also ruin the ideal of that connection. Finally, that takes over. And I wonder, right, it's like we are designed to connect to the deepest level, and we look for that in a partner, and biologically, it's the perfect platform to create children. Because if you've got two as a team synergized with love, then that by default, the physical act equals more precious life. I mean, wow. In other words, the deepest expression of love creates abundant life. No wonder we're intoxicated by it. So whatever genetically we've been programmed to be, what you described, that chemistry, it's euphoric. It just takes over every fiber of your being. It completely holds your mental space in serving that connection with that person. So that's why, people daydream about that person when they're meant to be doing their work, or they're meant to be doing their study or whatever. That becomes the dominant connection, hence the obsession, right? But you know what? What's interesting, Rach? It doesn't last. And what should take over? And this is the point, what is love? Because love can't be just that thrill, that chemistry.
Absolutely.
That ignites the fire. What keeps the fire going?
You got to keep throwing some fuel on the fire.
Yeah, but the thing is, that fire only keeps going because there is deep purpose in that connection that keeps it intact. And the purpose has to be beyond the physical act, the lust. It has to be beyond that romantic notion of someone's going to commit the rest of their life to me. I'm so besotted by that. Because you see, once that's done, then, well, fine. but what kind of a future are you going to create together? Is that something to keep the fire, the passion in you going for each other? And generally, I don't think we're very good at that as a society. The divorce rates are off the dial. Even long-term relationships of people who don't get married, it's complicated. And I think it all goes back to loving ourselves. And we don't seem to be raised to know how to do that. And we're conditioned to almost feel like we're being selfish and conceited. We're programmed to struggle for love.
So do you believe in, or what do you think of that statement when people often say you have to love yourself before you can fully love another person? Do you think there's any truth in that?
Yeah, I do. Because you see, you can love another person, but are you loving them for the right reasons? You see, if you don't love yourself, what are you loving in them? What are you actually loving in them?
The way they make you feel.
They're plugging the hole. Yeah, but if I'm feeling a hole in my chest.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Like the feeling, plugging the hole in your chest, that's what they do.
Yeah, I love the hole you've plugged in my chest that feels incomplete, lonely, never satisfied. Thank you for plugging it. Okay, now what about that person? What else are they going to do in your life? I've plugged the hole. So they've latched on as a Band-Aid to stop you hemorrhaging. This big, gorgeous Band-Aid.
That's love, everyone.
Yeah, that's love.
That's love, is it, George?
There's a gorgeous...
It's a Band-Aid.
Band-Aid on my chest. It's love. Someone's just made me feel, I'm not going to bleed to death. Woohoo! Then the breakup is peeling that Band-Aid off the chest. And I've got a few hairs on my chest, so it's going to be nasty for me. That breakup was nasty.
Yeah.
So yeah, like emotionally, we're latching on like a parasite. I need, because I'm freaking scared of myself. I hate being lonely. I don't feel, give me your attention. And it's kind of like, and then jealousy can play out for people that can ruin a relationship, obsessiveness. But you know, if two people are both insecure and they latch on and each one is happy that the other one's happy to be that way for each other, I know a relationship can coexist that way. So maybe theoretically, because I know we're all insecure, love can still work. Love between two people can still work. You don't have to be perfect. But I wonder how much, if you were to do a study and if you were to look at all the relationships that have been together for a long time and you interviewed them and you told them what they love about each other and what's made their relationship work, for a fact, you're going to get the crap too. But I sense for these people, there's a lightheartedness and acceptance has happened in where each other at that bothers them about each other. And it's a sense of they've found a way to manage it, tolerate it, look the other way, roll the eyes, you know? Oh, it's just him. It's just her, you know? Oh, gosh, they frustrate me. You know, you hear that in couples, don't you? Gosh, he just, but then they're there for each other. So I think a relationship is not about the perfect thing. I think that most people that are struggling to find the right person, it's not about the right person. Maybe right enough, but not to compromise where it matters. Do you think that's really the key here? And are we searching for love, but we're supposed to create the love we want? You see what I mean by that?
Yeah, well, I've often heard when people say, you know, I've read, be the person that you would want to fall in love with. So instead of going, I'm looking for someone to do the, you know, it's like, well, who am I going to be in the relationship? Who would I want to be for that other person? And that's a way to start. Yeah.
And not looking at that one-dimensionally, like everything that you think is important in interest, you have to kind of, all right, now I'm going to expect that of someone else because I'm doing that for me. Obviously, tolerance, open-mindedness, individuality, allowing them to be themselves and you to be yourselves and then coming together and having, you know, your togetherness as well. And that if you're too clingy, then you squeeze the life out of the individuality that has to exist in a relationship too. And I don't know, I think that shortens the shelf life a lot of relationships. It doesn't mean it can't work long term, but I don't know whether they're going to be that happy, to be honest. I mean, can you imagine someone's depressed, fed up with life, struggles, but at least he has a relationship with someone that's nice. You see, it seems to me that yes, you can have a relationship that can last a lifetime, But the fact is, your relationship with yourself sucks. And who can you be that doesn't suck anymore so that you're more comfortable in your own skin? Who could you be that would be so much better for that partner as well?
That's a really good question. That's a great question we should be asking ourselves. So if love's not a Band-Aid, please tell me love isn't a Band-Aid.
You know what I'm doing? My mind is going to purpose and all the work I've done on purpose, and purpose really is love in context. So in other words, when your passion turns on and you have meaning in your life, it's because you belong to something that you're doing, whether it be work, career, a partner. So it's funny, it's like love is this beautiful kind of aligned term with purpose. Our purpose is to love what we do, love who we're with, love what we create in our life, right? So if you really want to understand what love is, it's how do you get good at creating a space where you attract a connection and hold it and live it. How do you use your beautiful imagination to inspire someone out of their anxiety and into love with you, to give of themselves when normally they're hardened or scared? How do you find ways to be vulnerable? Because now rejection can't touch you because you're not rejectable. If they're rejecting, they're just rejecting whatever they're fearing or whatever version you were temporarily in. You can never, no rejection should ever be able to touch who you really are. So that means you can afford to be vulnerable. And we've covered this in past podcasts. When someone can be that vulnerable, genuinely, authentically, where they don't have to already have arrived somewhere for you to accept it, they don't have to be perfect for you to love them, they become so much more lovable because humility is so attractive. Humility means that person's ready to mold and serve the connection. They're ready to undo any dumb assumption and get into a way to be that's value-rich, compassionate, caring, sharing, adventurous, honoring the intimacy. Like all these words become a guide for them. And so what is love? Love is the space where you as an artist can create such a deep connection with someone or something. And if you're going to be an artist, you're not searching anymore. You're creating.
That's fantastic, George.
Thank you. Because it was resonating with me.
Yeah, it's really pertinent though too. I mean, because the real love is obviously not just the falling in love last part, but that long-lasting connection with someone. That's what that's about.
And you know the 5 languages of love, which I have come across the summary of all that. I haven't read the book. And many people love it. You know why? Because you're given 5 artworks that resonate. And we have favorite artworks. You see? But hang on a cotton pick a minute. You're an artist. Why can't you weave your own artwork from all those 5? Why can't you be inspired by all 5 and give yourself permission to be more dynamic and seize what's in front of you and color it from those 5 based on what really, really will work for you at the time and the person that you're honoring? But 5 languages helps because it gives people almost like a plug and play opportunity that already resonates with their heart anyway. But what I'm saying is take that as a foundation, but take it deeper and look at the principles of it and honor you as an artist as well. So we talk about the world, the moment is a canvas. Well, for each other, we need to create a space where the connection becomes so deep that oneness creates a euphoria. And that could be in any situation. But when it comes to intimacy, you hear that eye contact, maintaining intense, beautiful eye contact in physical intimacy is a woman's most important part of that. Generally, I hear that a lot. Would you agree? Wouldn't you say, Rach, that really does describe the importance of going deeper in a connection? Because what are the eyes doing? They're locking on the presence of 2 individuals in a timeless space where they are one. They're not thinking, They're just being one with one another. It's almost like it's this weird connection beyond the body through the windows of the soul, being the eyes kind of thing. And so I think personally, women are more in touch with knowing how to be one emotionally and physically than men, because we are programmed. It's almost like we're too busy getting a payoff on feeling strong and being a provider. And
well, women, it's much more acceptable for women to be vulnerable, so it's easier to show that side. But admittedly, when I have met a guy or when friends have and they are more inclined to be that way, it's very attractive, and you do feel like you're getting to know them on a much deeper level than just kind of a surface. And it is very attractive to get to know someone like that.
And, it works the other way too. When a woman makes herself too timid and too almost like she falls into the shadow of a man, right? The biggest issue there is that, yes, the man gets the payoff that he's strong and he's providing and he's got that masculine energy and he's cutting the path, right? But that man doesn't get what he really wants as well, which is a partner that's truly allowing herself to be there on every level so that there's a synergy of true partnership, not playing second fiddle. Because that's not a oneness anymore, is it? We've lost the true connection if we're, I'll just follow you.
Yeah. No, I think you've got on with what you've said there about being the artist and creating that space in order for that to thrive, like allowing that space and being present to that.
So there you go.
Because we certainly don't want love to be a band-aid. Yeah.
No.
Not like you described. And I think that's really resonating for me. So I think that's a really interesting kind of way of thinking. If you do meet someone, are they just doing that for you, or are you really allowing it to go deeper?
Cool.
So thank you, George. You've answered that question once again in some ways that I didn't expect. So I love that.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So we've honoured Valentine's Day in some way.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, lovely way, which I think people will really appreciate. Well, thank you, George, and thank you for listening to an EP7 podcast, guys. And please jump on the Facebook page, EP7 Official. We would love to hear your thoughts on our podcast. What is love?
What is love? Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us on another EP7 podcast. Remember to keep the conversation going on our Facebook page, EP7 Official.
Bye for now.